Have you ever noticed that the people who pull a room toward them aren't the ones telling everyone who they are, but the ones who let the room figure it out? The most compelling men don't win attention by chasing it. They create an atmosphere that attention wants to live in. That's the silent attraction secret no one tells you about. It isn't a line, it isn't a trick, and it definitely isn't luck. It's a disciplined way of moving, choosing, listening, and leaving that tells the truth about you before you say a word. Today, I'm going to hand you that discipline in a form you can actually use. If you stay with me, you'll walk out with a playbook you can test tonight. How to project calm magnetism, how to flirt without noise, how to turn a simple moment into a memory that follows someone home, and how to do it with ethics, respect, and zero games. Let's begin with the myth that ruins most conversations. The idea that attraction is a performance, and performance means volume. You've been told to be more interesting, to say something clever, to keep the conversation going at all costs. But every time you push to be interesting, you leak neediness. The human nervous system reads two channels at once, the words and the signal underneath. When those two don't match, the body believes the signal. If the signal says hurry, prove, impress, the words don't matter. The silent attraction secret flips the order. You establish the signal first. Calm, purpose, ease, and let your words ride on top of it. That shift is the difference between a man who entertains and a man who attracts. One burns out, the other builds gravity. So how do you build gravity on purpose? Start with tempo. Tempo is the hidden architecture of presence. You notice it in walking speed, in how long you let a greeting breathe, in whether your sentences land or tumble. A man who hurries through his own life can't convince anyone he's worth slowing down for. Cut your speed by just a notch, not into laziness, but into deliberate movement. When you approach a counter, don't slam your wallet down. Place it. When you greet someone, don't fire off your name. Offer it. A 2-second shift says you have time, and time is value. People lean toward value without being asked. Eye contact is your next lever, and almost everyone misuses it. Staring is a demand. Darting is an apology. Neither is attractive. The middle path is what I call inviting eyes. You meet the gaze to listen, you release it at the end of your sentence, and you return if the other person returns. That tiny dance communicates freedom and interest at once. You are here, yet you don't trap. Pair that with a micro smile that starts in the eyes before the mouth follows, and you've already said what most lines try to fake. I'm comfortable in my skin, and I enjoy being here. Voice turns presence into music. You don't need a movie trailer baritone. You need consistency and air. End your sentences instead of letting them collapse. Leave a little room after the last word, as if you're putting a period on the table and letting the silence notice it. When you ask a question, wait for the answer without rescuing the moment. That pause feels like respect, and respect is irresistible because it's rare. If you've been told to be confident, don't try to sound confident. Sound unhurried. Unhurried is confidence you can hear. Dress the frame, not the ego. The quietest men use their clothes like a frame uses a painting. They direct attention to what matters. Everything fits, nothing shouts. Clean lines, one detail with character, shoes that look cared for. You don't need brands, you need intention. When your outside looks like you thought about it, people trust that your inside has order too. That trust is the gateway to curiosity, and curiosity is the fuel of attraction. Now let's address the invisible sabotage, over-explaining. At some point, you learn to sell yourself like a product. You list virtues, you justify choices, you pad every no with 12 apologies. Stop. In adult attraction, clarity beats justification. Replace "I can't tonight because I've had a really long week and my boss" with "I can't tonight. Thursday at 7 works for me." Replace "I don't want to seem rude, but" with "I'm going to pass on that." Replace "I'm actually a calm person" with "moving like one." You communicate standards with your schedule and your sentences. The shorter they are, the stronger you look, provided they're warm. Add warmth through tone and the occasional "I appreciate the invite," and you get the perfect mix, kind and firm. That mix is rare. Rare gets remembered. If you've ever felt like flirting requires constant fireworks, you've been sold the loud version of a quiet skill. Flirting, when it's done well, is attention plus play inside the boundary of respect. It starts with noticing something specific and harmless you can share. Maybe the cafe playlist mixes a jazz classic into pop. Maybe the barista has a signature flourish. Maybe the dog by the door has the same expression as its owner. You send a small signal that you see the world, and you invite someone into that moment. Nothing invasive, nothing performative. Just a clean, shared observation followed by a question that lets the other person expand the scene. Did you hear that transition? They snuck brass into bubblegum. Then you stop talking. Silence is the room where the connection happens. Don't fill it with reasons to like you. A cornerstone of the silent attraction secret is exit timing. Most men lose interest by overstaying good moments. They're afraid that if they leave, the spell will break. But attraction follows memory, and memory favors peaks and endings. Your job is to create a small peak, a laugh, a spark of curiosity, a two-sentence exchange that felt easy, and then end before the moment thins out. I'm going to grab a seat with a view. Nice meeting you. If we loop back later, I'll tell you the trick behind that playlist. You leave a thread tied to the present, not a rope around the other person's time. That thread is an open loop, and open loops pull people forward without pressure. Let's take this into 3 everyday scenes so you can picture it. You enter a friend's birthday. Instead of hugging every wall or defaulting to your phone, you pause at the doorway and take one slow scan of the room. That single breath sets your tempo. You greet your host with warmth. You help shift a chair. You introduce yourself to the person on your left with your name and something human-sized. I almost wore a jacket and then the weather bribed me out of it. You ask one small question. Listen. Offer one small response that isn't a monologue. Then you move. You circulate in arcs, not lines. The room begins to remember you as the man who isn't in a hurry, who adds light and never wait. Different scene. A bookstore on a Sunday. You notice someone reading a back cover from the same author you considered last month. You give them space and only speak when the moment has air in it. That writer makes time disappear. Last time I looked up, the coffee was cold and the day was gone. Is he doing that to you too? It's simple, specific, and easy to decline. If the answer is short, you let it be short and smile your way forward. If the answer opens, you open with it. You're not testing material, you're offering presence, and you're ready to leave in high tide. Third scene, a quiet bar with a friend. You're not scanning for targets, you're enjoying your night. If you meet someone, you don't interrogate or audition. You exchange first names and one real detail, not a resume bullet, a lived sentence. I write in the mornings before the city wakes up. It's the only time my brain tells the truth. Then you shut up. You let your sentence hang like the last note of a song and see whether someone wants to hum along. That willingness to stop pushing is the mark of a man who knows he's enough. Underneath all these moves is a philosophy that keeps you steady, stoic in the best sense of the word. You control your inputs and your posture toward outcomes. You can't make someone respond, but you can make your presence worth responding to. You can't demand interest, but you can make interest likely by managing your sleep, your movement, and your focus. A calm nervous system projects safety. Safety plus playfulness equals charm. So before you chase charm, build safety. Go to bed on time enough nights that your face and patience change. Walk enough that your energy arrives with you instead of 5 minutes later. Drink water like you respect your body. None of this is glamorous, and all of it is attractive. Let's talk about boundaries framed as grace. A boundary is not a wall, it's a path. It tells you and others how to move well together. When someone teases you in a way that crosses your line, you don't escalate or collapse. You let a small silence fall, then you tilt your head with a smile that says you're still here and you say, skip that one. You don't write a speech and you don't score a point. You redirect. Moments later, the interaction is lighter because you anchored it. If someone pushes to meet at a time that empties your tank, you don't stretch to be liked. You offer 2 options that respect your day. People who value what you value will feel relieved by that clarity. People who don't are self-sorting out. Attraction grows best in gardens that are already weeded. A common fear is that quiet equals boring. Quiet isn't the absence of color, it's the control of contrast. You can be quiet and playful, quiet and witty, quiet and bold. The trick is to make your boldness precise. Boldness is not shouting from the middle of the room. It's walking up to the right person at the right time and saying the right simple thing. Boldness is ending an exchange at its peak instead of milking it. Boldness is asking for a small, specific plan instead of drowning in indefinite maybes. Thursday 7. The cafe with the old brick wall. If that works for you, I'll be the one reading without pretending to. That's a smile in a sentence. It tells a story, but it doesn't perform. The difference is everything. Texting is where silence becomes strategy. Most men use messages to compensate for presence, then wonder why the energy dies. Messages aren't for novels. They're for setting tone and logistics. Say what you mean, leave space, and move to real life if it makes sense. If you feel the itch to fix a flat exchange by sending more, don't. Go live your day. The most compelling subtext you can send is evidence that you have a life that satisfies you without constant digital validation. That subtext can't be faked. It has to be true. Build days you enjoy, and your phone will tell on you without a word. In long-term relationships, the silent attraction secret becomes maintenance and renewal. Routine doesn't kill the spark. Neglect does. You don't need grand gestures. You need consistent, quiet attentiveness, catching a detail and feeding it back later. Protecting a weekly ritual from the noise of the world, ending a conversation before it sours, saying, "I was thinking about that thing you said this morning, and it stuck with me." Small sentences that prove you listen are intimacy's currency. Pair that with periodic novelty that fits your lives, a new walking route, a different cafe, a surprise note folded into a book, and you keep wonder alive without drama. Now let's go deeper into the body language most men never master: stillness. Stillness is not stiffness. Stiffness is armor. Stillness is command. When you stand, stack your skeleton. Feet under hips, ribs over pelvis, chin level, shoulders released, and let your hands rest without fidgeting. When you sit, own the chair without sprawling. When you gesture, gesture once. Too many movements make your words swim. One clear movement makes them land. Imagine your presence as a camera with autofocus. If you jitter, the focus hunts and everyone tires. If you settle, the focus locks and the picture sharpens. People lean into clarity. You'll be tempted to think all of this is acting. It isn't. Acting tries to hide fear. Discipline metabolizes it. You will still feel adrenaline when you like someone. You will still trip over a word or two. Good. That proves you're alive. The point isn't to erase nerves. It's to give them a container. When you feel the rush, slow your exhale slightly and press your tongue lightly to the roof of your mouth just behind your teeth. It sounds odd, but it stabilizes your jaw and calms your speech. Micro tools like this are what make quiet power possible under pressure. Let's add a mental model you can carry anywhere. Intention, attention, tension. Intention is why you're in this moment. Are you here to share a smile, to exchange a thought, to propose a plan? Name it privately. Attention is how fully you're here. Put your phone away. Look at faces, not over shoulders. Tension is the small stretch you allow by using pauses and leaving early. Too little tension, and there's no spark. Too much, and there's stress. Find the stretch that feels like anticipation, not anxiety. That stretch is where attraction lives. You may ask, what do I say if conversation stalls? First, let it stall without panic. Sometimes the moment wants a breath. If it needs a bridge, use something low stakes and real time. Comment on a sensory detail, the cinnamon in the air, the light on the floor, the way a song sneaks memory into the room. Then pivot with a spacious question that doesn't interrogate. What was the most unexpected bright spot in your week? It's light, it invites a story, and it tells you more than job titles ever will. The key is to ask once and then actually listen to the answer without planning your next move. People feel the difference, and they reward it with more of themselves. There's a reason the quiet path works especially well as you mature. With age, your value is less about noise and more about signal. Your schedule signals your standards. Your home signals your priorities. Your body signals how you treat yourself. When those signals align with the man you say you are, attraction sticks. If they don't, attraction slips. A younger man can get away with excess performance once in a while. A grown man wins by coherence. So do the unglamorous things. Tidy the table you see the most, build a morning that makes you proud before you text anyone. Keep promises to yourself in small things, so your word has weight when you offer it to someone else. I want you to rehearse exits as much as entrances. Enter with awareness, exit with elegance. If you're mid-conversation and you feel the peak, don't push past it. Summarize what you enjoyed with one line and move. I like that take on city mornings. I'm going to rejoin my friend, but I'll think about that. Notice how it keeps dignity on both sides. If you want to continue another time, express it as a suggestion, not a petition. I'll be at the cafe with the brick wall Thursday at 7. If that sounds right, meet me there. That's confidence framed as an option. Options feel free. Freedom is attractive. What about rejection? It's part of adult life. Handle it cleanly and your attractiveness doesn't dent, it deepens. If someone isn't available or isn't interested, you don't need a speech. You need gracious brevity. Fair enough. Have a good night. That sentence protects your center. It shows that your self-respect doesn't depend on external weather. The man who can accept no with grace is the man people trust with yes. And yes, you will feel a pinch sometimes. Let it be there and let it pass. Your life is bigger than any moment. There is one more layer to the silent attraction secret that almost no one talks about: joy. Calm without joy is stoic stone. Joy gives your stillness warmth. You don't have to be loud to be joyful. You can be quietly delighted by the little mess of being human. The mismatched socks, the coffee that betrays you with a drip, the elevator that pretends it might not open. A man who smiles at the world without sneering at it offers safe fun. Safe fun is intimacy's favorite doorway. Bring that lightness with you and people will remember how they felt standing next to you long after your words fade. If you want a way to install all of this into your body fast, give yourself a week of practice with small tasks. For the next 7 days, walk slightly slower than the room you're in and preserve one clean pause after each greeting. Read something you enjoy out loud for 10 minutes and let your sentences finish all the way so your voice learns to land. Choose one place in your home to reset until it looks like calm, then sit there and plan your day in 3 lines. In your next conversation, ask one open question and then count a gentle heartbeat before you speak again. Leave one interaction while it still has color. Spend an hour with no screens and watch the city move around you like a film you're in, not a feed you chase. At night, name 3 small acts you did that a man you admire would also have done. Do this for a week, and you'll find that you don't have to remember techniques. Your body starts broadcasting the right signal on its own. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You need to be the clearest presence. You don't need 100 lines. You need 5 clean sentences placed with care and a willingness to say less when less says more. You don't need constant attention. You need a life with enough richness that your attention is worth something when you give it. That's the heart of the silent attraction secret. Make your attention a gift, not a grab, and the world leans in to receive it. So here's how you carry this into tonight. When you step into any room, choose your tempo. When you mean to speak, land the sentence. When you notice something small and true, share it simply and let it breathe. When a moment is good, end it while it's still bright. When a boundary is needed, draw it with kindness and no excess words. When a no arrives, bow out cleanly. When you like someone, offer a clear next step that respects both your time. And between all of this, build a life that makes you want to wake up early. Move your body, care for your space, and protect your focus. Do that and you'll find that silence stops being empty. It becomes the canvas that makes your presence visible. If I had to compress everything into one line you can carry in your pocket, it's this: say less, mean more, move with purpose. The combination of calm tempo, warm clarity, and respectful boundaries will make people feel safer, lighter, and more curious around you. And curiosity is the spark that outlasts charm. Try one piece of this today. One slower walk, one finished sentence, one early exit, and pay attention to what changes. Then come back and tell me the moment that surprised you, the conversation that felt easier, the silence that turned into connection. If this helped, stay close. I've got more training for men who want ethical attraction, real confidence, steady energy, and long-term connection without the noise. Quiet power is a practice, not a pose. Start now and let the room find out who you are before you say a word.